Don't make these mistakes. I want to spare you from making these locker room etiquette errors next until we make it. I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is Till We Make It. If you are passionate about pro wrestling and you're never done learning all about it, then you've landed in the exact right place. What are you waiting for? Go ahead and join the Till We Make It tribe. Subscribe right now. At the top of today's video, I want to shout out my 4 newest patrons. So welcome aboard Carol, Andrew, mysterious first initial A, and Kid V. I'm so glad to have you. And you can join this awesome roll call of my patrons as well. Just follow the link that's down below in the descriptus. Support the work I'm doing here at Till We Make It. If keeping Till We Make It a weekly YouTube channel is important to you, I need your help to reach my goal of 100 patrons this year. So don't wait. Jump on that link right now. Today's video is all about locker room etiquette and the mistakes I want you to avoid, many of which are mistakes I have made myself. And let's start with the big one. Let's talk about the handshake thing. Yes, every time you go into a pro wrestling locker room, you are going to go around and shake hands and introduce yourself to everyone that arrived before you. And when you do this, introduce yourself by the name you want people to refer to you by. Don't imagine that if you introduce yourself using your legal name, that everyone's going to remember the name that you use out in the ring. And remember that if someone is in the middle of a conversation on the phone or they're talking to someone else, to not interrupt them for the sake of making an introduction. Just wait. Exercise a little bit of patience, a little bit of etiquette, wait for that conversation to be over, and then introduce yourself. Interrupting somebody on a phone call or in the middle of an intense conversation for the sake of getting the handshake in is bad form. Sidebar. If in the process of making the rounds and introducing yourself to everyone in the locker room, you come across a superstar of legendary status who's hot off TV, or someone that you've admired or idolized for your entire career happens to be there, and you need to have that interaction, remember Mike's 3 S's. You're going to keep it short, sweet, and sincere, and then it's over. It's going to sound something like this. How do you do? I'm Mike. I am such an admirer of your work. I've studied your matches for years, and what a pleasure it is to finally meet you in person. And then it's over. It's no more than that. You keep it short and sweet and sincere, and then the interaction is over. And you know I'm telling you this because even I have gotten this wrong on more than one occasion, and even recently. The super talented Bryce Remsburg, one of my proteges, introduced me to a guy I've idolized for decades, Dean Malenko. And I got this interaction wrong. I made a fool of myself in front of him. I got it wrong, and I want you to get it right. The next one on my list is a little old school, but let's see if we can't help this one make a comeback, okay? Let's talk about the belt thing. If you are entrusted with the care of a championship title belt, you never leave it on the floor of the locker room. That championship title belt cost someone in that organization, the money man, the partners behind it. Somebody spent a lot of money on that most important prop in professional wrestling. And for you to just throw it on the locker room floor is a massive show of disrespect. That championship belt has some type of carrying case, a bag that it goes in, or failing all of that, wrap it up in a towel and put it back in your bag if you're meant to carry it to the next show. But you never just drop a championship title belt and leave it on the locker room floor. Let's talk about money. And if you ever want to develop into a locker room leader, this one is key. Now, there are plenty of wrestling organizations out there that pay electronically. You might get a direct deposit, or it's sent to you through PayPal or Venmo, etc. But in those cases where you're being handed either a check or cash, you are not going to open that up while you're in the locker room in front of anybody else. You're going to check your money in a private setting. That might mean you're going into the bathroom and locking the stall and checking your envelope there. And if for any reason there's a discrepancy or you need further negotiation on points of money, be prepared to wait until the show is entirely over. Because distracting the promoter, the money man, the owner, etc., from their responsibilities to the entire rest of the ensemble so that you can talk about money is a bad move. Your money situation doesn't take precedence over the needs of the entire show. So get ready to be patient and wait until the show is over, and then look for a private, quiet moment to have that discussion or negotiation about your money. If you're learning something from today's video, won't you please take a second and one tap of your finger and leave me a like-a-palooza on today's video. Thanks for doing that. And now let's talk about the chair thing. If you walk into a wrestling locker room and there is a chair set up and there's a bag next to it, in front of it, behind it, that chair is taken. For you to take another worker's bag, their luggage, and move it away from that chair so that you can have that chair is a sign of disrespect. Go and find another chair somewhere. I don't care who you are or what your perceived position in the hierarchy of wrestlers are. Back in the locker room, we should all be equals. And the idea that you can just take someone else's chair because you're too lazy to go and get another one, outrageous and unacceptable. For this next one, you gotta be sharp, but it's a powerful one. We gotta talk about trademark moves. So for example, let's say that you're in a wrestling locker room and Petey Williams happens to be there. Are you going to be doing your Canadian Destroyer out in the ring on the same card where the guy who invented the Canadian Destroyer is wrestling? No. No, you are not. Nor will you be the person who goes up to Petey Williams to say, hey, you know, I also do the Canadian Destroyer. Would it be okay if I do it tonight? Have enough respect for the person who innovated that move to exclude it from your material for the sake of that evening's performance. And if you are so ignorant as to not realize that you are performing on a card with someone who innovated a move like that, don't be surprised if when you return to the locker room after your performance, you are met with less than desirable reactions. This next one is less common at the independent level of wrestling than it is at the corporate level of wrestling, but it bears discussing nevertheless. It's a scenario in which there is a separate, closed superstar dressing area. So for example, maybe Brock Lesnar has his own dedicated changing area backstage with a door that can be closed. In these situations, if for some reason you need to go into that dressing room, you need to knock and wait for some kind of response. Someone gives you permission to go in or they come and open the door. You're not just gonna knock and then let yourself in. And I know this seems like an obvious thing, but there's a reason why we're talking about this. In those kinds of situations, you're gonna knock and you are gonna wait. And if no response comes, you're not going in. Click on the video that's appearing on screen right now. It will take you to a playlist I have curated all about becoming a locker room leader. And thanks once again to all of my amazing patrons helping to keep Till We Make It a weekly channel here on YouTube. That orange box with a P in it will take you to my Patreon page.